Okay, sir.
Thank you. So the first element is imagination. Imagination is something that you cannot perceive in this universe. It's beyond this universe, or we can call it metaphysics. Metaphysics is something like that. Physics is something like it's a physics, concrete. Okay, you can touch it, you can feel it. But meta is beyond, which you cannot touch, but you can feel. And then when you want to describe your imagination, then all the nonsense word comes into your mind. And no one is going to believe that. How many of you can make someone trust that I saw a ghost? No one believe that, right? Or you saw an unnatural creature. No one is going to believe that. Neither I nor anyone. We're not going to believe that. But so imagination is something is real, but it's corporeal. And there's a difference between these words. Real is something like you can see, it's reality. And there is something some other word. It's called corporeal. It's more than real, but you cannot see. Because you cannot perceive. Now, if I want to give you an example, have you ever seen God? God? Yes, have you ever seen? No, no one can see that. Can you imagine? No. Can we? Can we imagine God? Does that creature come into our mind? Never. So what does it mean? Meaning that our imagination has a limitation. Right? The imagination that you have, it has a limitation. Obviously it has a limitation. You cannot imagine what we want. You can only imagine those things that you see, that you perceive, that you see that moving on the earth. You can only imagine a star because you have seen a star before. But your star in imagination, the star maybe it's not white, it can be like a blue star. You have seen a beautiful white moon, but in your imagination, it can be blue. Because it's your imagination. Your imagination is one kind of ultra version of reality. You get me? The ultra version, meaning that something that comes into your mind that also exists in the reality, but in the imagination, it's more profound, it's more beautiful, it's more sound, it's more resounding, it's more illustrious. But we as a human being, how many of you do believe that our imagination really works? Because what you imagine is only you and between your mind. It never interrupts in the reality. And then you have another thing of romantic elements, is that your nature. Was that nature? And what I think all of you know what nature is, right? But to romantics, nature is something like the divine inspiration. Okay? You understand what is divine inspiration? Meaning that it's something so secure, it's something so divine and pure. It's a divine inspiration for the romantics. And that's what, the romantics, they were so connected with God. They used to believe in God and they used to praise God by praising the nature. Okay? Now, if you see, like if I say that the rose is so beautiful, ultimately it means what? You're praising whom? The creator of the rose. Understood? Yes. If you say that the rose is so beautiful, it means what? Are you praising the rose only? No. You're also praising the creator of the rose. Right? So, poetry and worship, all the romantics, they want you to go to nature so that you feel attracted and you feel attached to the God. Here, so it's kind of balancing the nature and you love for God. So, and that's why you always find, like when you're reading poetry, reading worship, you find that the nature, the way they are praising the nature is something like they're also praising God, the beauty of God. Here, you get it? So this is another perception. But before you start, now what is the significance of imagination? What do you think? Is there any significance of imagination? Do we really need to imagine? Or do we really need to be creative? Because when you find a graphics designer, when you design a thing, can I design like a graphics designer? He designs with the mind. He exactly knows where to put which color. Right? And that's why you find there are some other designers. Like if you go to designer first, you find what? The designer, they exactly know where to put which color. They have a self-feeling. But as a normal human being, do we have that feeling? Can we do it? So imagination is it's something like everyone doesn't possess that quality of imagination. Now, romanticism, to believe it, people used to believe in the physical existence. Like Warsaw, have you seen, like if I say that, like, have you heard the word of like Newton? Have you heard the name of Newton? Yes. Right? So the Newton says that when I see that the beautiful universe, and I see that all the mechanism of this universe, it reminds me of one thing, and it's a God. There must be a God. Because it's a mechanism, and it goes so well. The physical existence of the nature and the physical existence of this universe prove that there must be a deity, there must be a God, there must be a God, someone is doing something. So that was the belief. But romantics who came into existence, and then again they say that yes, exactly, the God is doing something, but the nature that you see will ultimately lead you to God. And now, if I just read a few lines from there, you can obviously understand. It says by Newton, it's in this book, the mechanistic explanation which both philosophers and scientists gave of the world meant that scant respect was paid to the human self, and especially its more instinctive. And Newton found a place for God in their universe. The works of nature in every word of them sufficiently evidence of the deity. Last time you didn't say. But this wasn't at all what the Romantics demanded from religion. For them, there is a question, less of reason than of feeling. Meaning that if I want to just do it in Bangla, যুক্তি থেকে অনুভূতির গুরুত্ব বেশি. So this is what Romantics believe. What do they believe? They believe that like the reason is less important than what? Feelings and emotion. And then again, less of argument than of experience. তর্ক থেকে অভিজ্ঞতা বেশি দরকার. You understand? So these are the feelings of romantics. These are the feelings, this is how the romantics used to think. There's another feeling, this is what Blake believes. This word of imagination is the word of eternity. Now, have you seen like, we believe like we are going to die, right? And we are telling that when we die, we'll go for an eternal world. But can you imagine this eternal world? Can you imagine that, if I said heaven, can you imagine heaven? Can you imagine hell? But you have some description, and that's why you come, when you think of hell, you think of what? Fire. When you think of heaven, the very first thing that comes what? Nature. Right? The very first thing you think, what does it come to your mind? Heaven, nature, beautiful birds are flying. A beautiful garden, Eden, this is what we call it. Now, if this is the question of eternity, now we say that the body that we have is going to be vegetated. What is the meaning of vegetation? A vegetated means something like, if you die, your body will be perished, right? Your body is going to be perished. It's going to be, somehow it's going to be ruined. But if you think of your soul, the soul is what? Eternal. The soul is what? Eternal. So is your imagination. Because you don't imagine with your body. How do you imagine? Imagine with your mind, right? And the mind is what? Eternal. This is the logic represented by the Romantics. That imagination, well, we need reason. They're not denying that. But the reason they are giving you right now, that the body you have is going to be perished, is going to be ruined, it's going to be danger. But the soul you have, the mind you have, is not going to be perished, it's not going to be ruined, and it's eternal. Because your soul, If you think of like death is the end of everything, is it? No. Death is not the end of everything. It's just a journey from one world to another world. You get me? So your soul is having a journey. So your soul is not going to die. So the imagination, when you want to imagine something, all the beautiful things, all the things that you would like to imagine, with the help of what? Mind and soul. Not with the help of the body and the head and the physical structures. How do you imagine? You close your eyes and you imagine. Right? And then what comes into your mind? Do you need your hand to imagine? Do you need like any physical structure to imagine? Your mind, your eyes, and your soul are enough to imagine. You can imagine. And poetry is something that, he becomes a good poet who can imagine very well. Now you find what? Exactly in a rose or in a daffodil, you find it's a flower. But for the romantics, it's more than a flower. Why? Because romantics believe that we don't believe in the physical structure of anything. We believe in the soul. We believe in its beauty. That's permanent. It's nature. Because roses are, if you just give a rose to someone, right? The rose is going to be cast after 2 days. It's going to be the flowers are going to die after 2 days. But the feelings you give to the rose is eternal. It gives you an immense pleasure. Huge pleasure it gives you. But it's not the rose, but it's the way of giving the rose that gives you a feeling. So there are so many other things, like the age of reason, those who were actually, they used to believe like rose is a rose. But the romantic is a rose is not a rose. A rose is beyond the rose. It has more significance. They were saying the color rose is red. So red is a symbol of love. And at the same time, they were saying red is a symbol of God. So they have different explanation. Right? So the romantics will come up with different explanation. But you and me, we see that it's just physical existence. But for romantics, more than physical existence. You get me now? I'm just giving you just trying to make it. So initially it may sound a bit difficult for you. Again, imagination deals with the non-existent. Imagination deals with what? Non-existent. What is non-existent? Exactly. Unreal thing, right? Unreal thing. It doesn't exist in the universe. So imagination is something that is completely deals with a non-existent thing. So if you're thinking that you're going to imagine, like what comes into your mind when you just think, you imagine something beautiful for yourself? You'll find it like you're not roaming around the street of water. Obviously you're not. You'll find like you are roaming around a nameless street that you don't know what to name. Because you're not going to imagine, because I think your imagination is not that much bad, that only the morning will come, the ocean lake will come. I think your imagination is really good, that you'll have some beautiful place for you. Our imagination takes us to build our capacity, the physical existence. The way you think that the way we exist, actually imagination takes you along the way that you can't even imagine. So imagination is the power. And this is how a human being becomes greater. Now, if you think of, have you heard the name of like some Babui Baki? Have you heard? So they're beautiful architecture and they're beautiful engineering, right? So every single Babui Baki, when it's a little sparrow, when he designs his house, it's always the same. He never does any mistake. It's always the same fashion. But when you design a building or a house, you find what? It's not becoming the same again and again. Because at first your imagination says, okay, I imagine this building will have this or that. And you do it. And then you find, no, there's some faults, there's some errors. And you check it out. Then you again design something. Right? So human beings, They have a different imagination. They can imagine the way they want. That's the power that human beings are given. But not all other animals. Not even the birds. They, if you find like what? The birds, they're making house. And their nests are almost same. All the time it's same. But we as a human being, we vary from each other. But if you just think of two sparrows, two birds, little birds, they will be making the same house. There is no difference. The same structure, same design, and the same architecture. But as a human being, when we make a house, our houses are different. Completely different. We have a different diagram in our mind. And again, we can change our imagination to this. Now it comes for like, this is the last slide I'm going to read from this book today. This is what Blake has to say. If you people like, general knowledge are those knowledges that idiot possess. Now you find what? The general knowledge. We all need general knowledge, right? But to Blake, it's something like, if you are possessing general knowledge, it's something like an idiot has general knowledge too. But imagination is something, it's the ultra level of human being. Everyone can imagine. And everyone doesn't become a poet. And everyone can write a poem. And that's why imagination makes you someone greater. Clear? Now, I'm just holding on. I think the theory will make you, but I hope that things are very clear for you right now. What is imagination as a nature? And how the romantics will behave to you. Do you have this book or any like Polish book one? Polish book, you have this one. If you have the text, you can open the text with me. So I can help you out actually. We will give you reading text. Can you stop the recording please so that you can do the first lecture? So I'll be recording another one.